Hi, so I wanted to share some reflections on what is happening in the world at the moment. And I actually recorded this video already, but things escalated so quickly that I thought it didn't make sense to publish that video, because I feel like it was behind the progression of what was already happening. So now I just wanted to share another video and shine a different light on this thing that is happening in the world and how it's impacting all of us and yeah, really seeing how it's impacting all of us and then what we can do from here. And there's so many angles and there's so many aspects to this. And I just feel like let me just preface this by saying there are so many things that are going to be triggering an awakening on our planet, and this is one of them. The energy with this feels very similar to what happened in 2020 with the lockdowns and all that stuff. There's a lot of fighting happening at the moment, and the exact same tactics and energy and the propaganda manipulation that was used back then and divide and conquer is happening again now. So really we have to see it. And then in order to move forwards is a case of how do we step outside of that, because it's keeping us trapped here. And there's a few aspects to it. But first of all, that it's exactly the same thing. And from what happened back then, we saw so many scientists, experts, doctors were being censored, that their voices were not being heard. We could see the shadow banning on the social media platforms obviously later came out with those Twitter files that Elon Musk was sharing, that the government was involved with the censoring of information on Twitter, probably on Instagram as well. And just really that there was a lot happening. People's channels were being taken down, demonetized, everything. And so the same thing is happening now, and now different people are going to be able to see it. The same thing from a slightly different angle, because now the shadow banning is happening. Now if you're speaking out and wanting to share information on what's happening in Palestine, the shadow ban is taking place. The voices are being minimized and silenced. So just with that, you can see very clearly how we are being manipulated. And obviously the mainstream media news is really just portraying one perspective, and so many government officials have sided with Israel, right? And I've seen a lot of people justifying this kind of behavior, saying, well, there's a reason, there's a reason for that. Yeah, fair enough, but this is why I want to bring this perspective, that it's just not one-sided, and it's not about that. It's just really not about just taking one side. Now, if you are siding on, and I really think this is so important, because what has happened is devastating. No matter what country you live in, if there is a bomb, an attack, people's lives are being lost here. It's just not okay. We need time to mourn this situation and space to really acknowledge and accept that this is something that's happened. And I'm sure a lot of people in Israel and people who are connected to Israel feel that. And then all of a sudden it just switched around really quickly to this genocide that's taking place in Palestine. And then again, the same thing. It's just, it's really difficult to watch. It's really difficult to see this behavior. And ultimately, the behavior is just war mentality. It's just ego. It's just anger and hatred, hurt, trauma, and, if you did this, then I'm going to come back on you 10 times worse kind of thing. And it doesn't really make sense, to be honest. But back to the point, I feel like it's so clear how that mentality has proliferated throughout the whole of the globe, because so many people are arguing right now. And that's all I just wanted to bring the attention to. So many people are arguing and also trying to push their point. And I know that, yeah, I feel like the mainstream media isn't covering a lot of what's happening in Palestine and changing the wording so that it really seems like these lives of these people in Palestine are really not worthy. And so I can understand why people are standing up and sharing this information and sharing what's really going on, because at the end of the day, it is what it is and it's happening. So fair enough. I just think it's really important to recognize that we can step outside of the fight. And that's it. That's literally it. And like I said, I can understand, I can completely get why people are protesting. And, I've been sharing some stuff as well with regards to what is happening. And obviously a lot about exiting the arena is what I call it. Because we've got ourselves into this mess, and in order to get out of it, and obviously there's so much more to it. There's a very, very, very dark plague that is infecting our minds, our hearts, our planets, our land, our everything, So we have to be able to see that clearly. And this is why I feel like when you can step outside of choosing a side, then you can really see things clearly. And then you're not saying things from a place of hurt and wanting to hurt the other side. Do you know what I mean? And just saying things like, and there's this game that's happening where it's basically saying, who's the worst victim? But at the end of the day, it's not Palestine versus Israel. It's us versus this darkness, this real freaking dark evil that is that's seeping into us. And the victim program really is something that we all need to be able to integrate and move forwards from, because it doesn't get us anywhere. And so when I'm speaking about the neutral field and becoming neutral, just want to make it very clear that this isn't a place of bypassing, because I think some people get really confused and they think, oh, people who aren't saying anything, or people who aren't, on the side of Palestine, are basically are not seeing this clearly, and they're not choosing to liberate themselves. But I disagree with that. And I think that actually when you are able to step outside of the binary, because yes, we can see, the point is, yes, see things clearly. You can be neutral, but you can still see things. Doesn't mean you're avoiding it. Doesn't mean that you don't see the ethnic cleansing. You don't see the genocide. That doesn't mean you don't see the apartheid. Doesn't mean you don't see where Hamas's funding money came from and how this whole thing could have been created in this way. It doesn't mean that you also don't see that the attack was also really, really uncivilized. What a word. And yeah, completely unreasonable for the whole of the Jewish community, right? So the whole point of being neutral is to be able to see everything. And when you can truly come outside of choosing a side, then you can begin to see everything. And then you can begin to see how this whole mind virus is affecting all of us. Because as long as we are saying things where we are judging people, condemning people, attacking people, trying to convince people with our point of view and our perspective, and it's exactly the same energy as 2020. And so many of us came to that realization that the point isn't to try and convince other people, to try and get them to see. They will get there in their own time. The point really rather is for us to, create a community with the like-minded people, right? But I feel like when you zoom out, you can see how you are keeping that fight alive within. Because what does it even mean to be a freedom fighter or, any of these things? And again, this is really important. It's not bypassing. The point isn't, oh, just ignore everything that's happening. Well, it can't be ignored, especially if you're online. There's no way that you can ignore it. But and it affects all of us, I think. Energetically, it affects us. So we can see it. The point of being the observer neutrally is to be able to be in an active state of awareness and not basically fall down into the trap of divide and conquer and feel like you need to be fighting. So I think people get this really confused, that this place of being neutral is love and light bypassing, but it isn't. However, another further thing to say about that is that, this new earth is already here and it's for us. So we have to be very careful and very smart about how we are projecting our world and our reality. And like I said, the divide and conquer strategies can come into our lives where we start speaking to people in these ways that's just causing division. However, if you really tune into your heart and if you really feel from your heart and start speaking from the heart place, your language changes so that it's not divisive words that are coming out. It's more wholesome and acceptance of all of us. Because at the end of the day, this isn't the only war that's genocide even as well. And, crazy situation that's happening in the world at the moment. It really isn't. And we can see now how it's coming into our lives individually and now the responsibility that we have from this point in changing this war mentality. Because as long as we keep stuck in the divide and conquer strategies and disconnected from each other and arguing with each other over specific points of view, we will stay stuck and then we won't move into the higher frequencies that are available to us. So it's not about love and light bypassing. That's not the point. The point is envision the world that you want. Absolutely embody it wholeheartedly. Become peace. Anchor in the neutral 0 point so that it doesn't matter what is coming your way. It doesn't affect you. This is so important to this time, and not just specifically with this situation, but also with the wider aspects of things, because there's so much more to come. We already saw it in 2020, and it's just slightly different situation again and again and again and again. So how many times are we going to fall for the trap? Another thing as well is the fear. Same thing with 2020. And that's why the 0 point is so important, and the neutral field. Because, we are starting to see all the stuff that's very real and it's happening and it's distressing. How is that affecting your emotional equilibrium right now? Some people are able to go and view it and come out and be unaffected, but not everybody can do that. So you need to be aware of if you are one of those people or not, and how much you are allowing yourself to see these images. And we need to remember that we are all creator beings here, and we all have so much power, creative potential. And when we're constantly being bombarded in all angles, and there's this fighting and arguing, and the fighting and arguing again, it's happening amongst us. So we're just perpetuating even more the division. And this is why it's so important that we just step out of the fight. And when we are fighting, we're not fighting with other people, we're fighting with ourselves. We are a reflection of each other. Ultimately, there's something within us that feels like we need to change the external environment in the world. It's just us. We're fighting with ourselves. So when we can, again, really just come back to the heart and come back to unity and our connection to source, to creation, to the creator, this energy that we are all connected to, then we don't necessarily feel the need as if we need to be constantly in the state of disconnection. So it really is coming into connections with ourselves and connection with the source. Because once we are here, we can maintain that state of becoming the observer. And again, another thing as well is that so many of us know that this is the collapse. This is the collapse of these power structures that have kept us manipulated and in a state of victimhood and abuse and obedience. So this is what needs to happen. We have to be able to see it. We have to experience it. We didn't know it was going to be like this, but this is what it's like. We are here to go through it. And so we know deeply that this is a requirement. And the understanding of that is why. Why is it? Because the darkness needs to be purged. It needs to be purged in all of us, throughout all of us. This is the consciousness that is on our planet. It's coming from this very dark space because it's these beings, which I'm still yet to do the video on understanding what's happening on this planet. And I did a video explaining the dimensions. Like I said, it's so helpful in understanding the reality. But I need to go into further details about what this darkness is and why, and basically it's coming from, you know, these beings who are not from this realm. Basically, they're humans, but they're not really humans. They've been manipulating us for centuries. It's been a long thing. It's great that we can speak about it now, because I feel like in this holy land the hijacking has been really, really deep, and now this situation has opened up so that we can actually talk on this clearly and just really say what's up, you know. But these beings, and it's, you know, in one sense it's obvious, because who is creating all this war? Literally, who's creating it? Because most people I know would never do that, you know. But it's just, but then the thing is, we do get caught up in it, us humans individually, because it comes from this place, really, really, really dark place, and then the division and manipulation tactics come through, and next thing you know, we're all fighting each other. We're all in disagreement with each other. And this one thing I saw on Instagram was so good. It said basically, everyone's fighting against each other. Nobody is asking the question, who shook the jar? Like, there's two different groups of people and someone is literally shaking the jar. Nobody's asking that question, who shook the jar? Because when you ask that question, then you can go even further. So again, remove yourself from picking and being really heavily on one side, because then you can also rise up and then look a little bit more clearly from different angles. What's really going on here? Now, obviously, I just also want to say, like, people of Palestine are clearly disadvantaged with this situation. What is happening on there is an absolute devastation, you know. It's crazy that it is being allowed and so few people are speaking out. There have been some people speaking out now, which is good, but at the end of the day, it is just clear. And announcing that isn't denouncing this attack that happened on the Jewish population at all in any way. You know, war begets more war, so what's the point? What was the point in that? Again, the mechanics behind who's creating it all is a different thing to view and to witness. But at the end of the day, yes, we can still see how, you know, it is important for us to acknowledge that, you know, the people of Palestine just want to be free. And they've wanted to be free for a very long time now. And they should absolutely be allowed and granted that freedom. Regardless of who, what, you know, what is taking place. We can acknowledge that and accept that, you know. When it comes to the who, what, these are, you know, different aspects and angles of the situation that we can then also witness and view and just bear witness to. But like I said, when you say that, it's not saying that you're on the same side as Hamas, that you also that you are taking that side. That just because you are announcing what is clearly happening in front of our eyes, it doesn't mean you are choosing a side. It just means that you are announcing what is clearly happening in front of our eyes. You know, I think this is also where it gets confusing, because it's like, hey, hang on a minute, don't choose a side. But obviously the Palestinians are really disadvantaged, and this is a genocide that's taking place, so why would I not choose the side, you know? But then it's just peeling it back a bit more, because when we are only saying, you know, I'm on side with the Palestinians, then we're forgetting as well the other situation. And at the end of the day, it's us. We're humans. We all have feelings, emotions, and you know, the attack that happened in Israel as well is. I just think it also needs to be acknowledged. Again, yes, we can also go into understanding that the apartheid has been going on there for a very long time. So, but at the end of the day, again, war begets more war. So this is just the way it has been. The battle has been ongoing for a long time now, but it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. You know, the attack in Israel still happened. People are still feeling that, you know, trauma and coming to terms with it. So then we end up fighting. Which one's worse? Which one's worse? Which one's worse? And it's just like, wait a minute. This is a waste of our energy. And you know how it works. The divide and conquer happens so that our energy can be harvested, so that our trauma, our stress, our fear will be taken and used as an energy source for these beings in another place. That's how it works. That's what they love, to see us in these states of fear, anxiety, stress, worry, trauma. That's the whole point. So when you know that, you need to elevate. You need to elevate. Obviously, you can do whatever you want, but when you do know that, you think, well, why am I stuck here? I choose to elevate and move out of this, because now I'm just feeding these beings, the parasitic beings. Why would I choose to do that? So again, it's just the words, and the words that we are speaking and the way that we are saying them. If we are really coming from the heart, we're not causing division with our words. And you know what? It's simple. You can just say, this is why I say it's really important to speak the nuance, because otherwise it just looks really binary and polar opposite. And obviously, again, that's why we're here in this reality, in this lower dimensions, where we are experiencing duality. And that's how it is. But right now we can also experience the third. So duality is two. There's another perspective, and that is the observer. So the third is the Trinity. So instead of only being able to be in one or the other, we can then see, oh, there's one and the other. And then from that higher perspective, we can see that actually there's also another path. And basically the other path is literally being able to exit the fight. Exit the arena. And again, why it's so important to be able to move up into this and exit the fight. And again, when you're exiting the fight in the arena, it doesn't mean that you're not seeing the truth of what is happening, because we are. That's the whole point. We are still able to see it. We're able to witness it. We've known it for a very long time already, actually. It's been coming out in many ways. We know that the battle just needs to be fought out. There's not much we can do from afar other than the little things that we can, contribute to. But all we can do really is observe and allow it to play, the consciousness to be purged from this darkness, And again, that work is for all of us to do, like I'm describing here, because it permeates out into us. And so now, who are you condemning? Who are you cancelling? Who are you speaking to in a way that doesn't deserve to be spoken to like that, And this is how the darkness comes into us. And then next thing you know, we're all fighting each other, and the war just continues. So back again, so we are creative beings. When we're constantly seeing all of that as well, then that's all we're going to be ending up creating. And not always, because like I said, some people are conscious, they can go in, see it and come out and still choose to create. And again, that's what it means to be sovereign. and in your power. Yeah, so it's really important to remember that we are all creating this reality, and that's what we're doing right now. So if you're constantly caught up in this fighting and fear and arguing, and then that's all you're going to keep creating. And this is how it works. That's why they give us all this timeline of this warring and division, and it seeps into all of us. So we have to become really conscious of it when it's happening and allow ourselves to just step down from the battlefield, And I mean, also honor where you are on the journey, because to be fair, it's a part of the journey. It's a stage of the journey. So I know that a lot of people feel like they have to be there. But like I said, just because you're sharing the truth of what's happening, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually just choosing a side. It just means that you're sharing the truth. So I think you can come also from that perspective of sharing information, but it depends how you're sharing it, because are you doing it to incite fear? Because it might be inciting that anyway, whether you are aware of it or not. Or are you doing it to change people's minds? Are you doing it in a spiteful way? All of these things come into it. So really, it's just like to be really conscious and aware of how we are reacting to this situation. Because I think, yeah, you can do it. You can share it from a neutral point, basically. You can share posts, you can share information from a neutral point, and still acknowledge what's going on, still see it clearly, but then at the same time, see the other side, see the other perspective too. Because I feel like there is another perspective and there is another side, and it's not necessarily this what's it called? It's just human beings. It's just human beings that are also really sad and distraught about what happened to them. And in that case, there might be some of them coming from a place of hurt, and that's why they have come to the conclusions they've come to. But again, we have to have compassion for each other here. Like I said, we are all against these parasites. None of us are not subject to it. So again, when you see that, then that's another way to really have compassion and empathy for other people during this war on our consciousness, because that's what it is, right? It's a war on our consciousness. And this is why people are so divided and so much division and in so much arguments, because some people can see things clearly and others can't. And the people who can't see things clearly are still fighting and arguing because they're trapped in the consciousness trap of divide and conquer. This is how it works. So, but then at the same time, I feel like, people who are seeing things clearly can still also be coming from a place of divide and conquer. So really, it's up to you to decide. I'm not here to judge people for where they are in this process at all. People be where they are, it's all good. I'm just here to reflect where I am, and only you can do the same for you. Reflect where you are, and just to bring awareness to another level of perspective that is available to all of us, which is where we can step outside of the fight. We don't have to constantly be manipulated and harnessed of our life force energy. Because when you put it that way, it's so clear. It's just, hang on a minute, I'm feeding these beings. I don't want to. So then it's like, okay, no, I recognize now why I need to step outside of the fight. And, there's many people who are already here on this perspective in this way. If you are there, all that it is you're basically anchoring in that perspective and frequency for others to come into energetically. So, it's here for all of us. And the new earth frequency is higher frequency. We have to move out of this war mentality and division. We have to truly come into the unity. And all of this comes with empathy and compassion for everyone, no matter if you think that they're wrong. So we have to be able to step out of this. If we are truly wanting to anchor in the new earth frequencies, then be with love in your heart. Deeply and deeply connect with love. I know you can have anger for these beings, because at the end of the day, the mind control has seeped into the collective, and it's causing people to go out and kill each other. But these people are just victims to the mind control. So we're not fighting them, we're fighting what's behind them, this darkness. And so I know we can have a lot of anger for that. The anger is not healthy. It's a natural part of the journey, but at the end of the day, we have to move through it. Otherwise, it's going to manifest as disease. Everybody knows this, So it's important for us to move past these stages and these tricks and these traps, because that's all they really are. And allow ourselves to really be taken away by the higher timeline and integrate the higher frequencies. In order to bring this into the world, we have to become it. We have to speak peace. We have to speak with empathy and compassion for all. We have to speak in a way that is including everyone, that's not divided by language. And we need to be able to clearly see how, if we are saying something like, I only stand with this, how it will cause other people to feel neglected and worthless and divided. That's just the way the manipulation game has been designed. So even though we know that might not be what we are meaning, it can seem like that because of the way it's been designed. So we have to then be able to speak the nuance and speak all of it. I don't condone any of these things. I don't condone the apartheid. I don't condone the attack. I don't condone the response. I don't condone the Israeli government's vengeance to just kill. I do not condone any of it, and I am welcoming in a peaceful world and a peaceful heart for all beings on this planet. Really, it's really, really important. So just from what I've seen, I think I really wanted to just share this, like what it means to be in the neutral zone and in the 0 point. It doesn't mean bypassing, and it doesn't mean putting your hand in the sand, and it doesn't mean love and light. Bypass out of here. No, it means looking clearly. It means standing back with awareness and watching and seeing as it all unfolds, seeing all of the sides very clearly, because we're not just choosing one, we're able to see the whole picture. It means understanding that this needs to happen because it needs to be purged. It means seeing the darkness within yourself and also purging it and doing that work. It means being able to be very conscious and aware when that energy and hijack and manipulation is trying to infiltrate into your body and choosing otherwise. And then it means being able to come from a place of love, peace, harmony, and be able to speak that into the world and be able to anchor it in. It means being able to bring in the energies of the higher timelines. So in this space of neutrality, there's actually a lot of work. There's actually a lot of work to do. And it's an active state, not a passive state, which I think is why people get confused. Because, again, it's like, of course, we can see what's happening. Of course, it's not okay. Of course, Palestine is completely disadvantaged in this situation, of course. But it's not helpful if I'm just coming from that place of argumentative division all the time. All I'm doing is feeding this warmongering timeline over and over and over. So it's important, again, also that we are aware of our Instagram social media feeds, and we're in control of that. We can tweak it so that it's only giving us what we want. And I totally see why people think that neutral is like a bypassing, because yeah, I think eventually you just choose to opt out. Actually, you know what? I know this is really distressing, but what good is it if I'm vibrating in that frequency? Actually, I'm going to choose not to. I don't want to watch these videos. Like I said, some people can do it better than other people can, but I can see why it is. But at the end of the day, it's like I said, the neutral isn't the same as bypassing. But obviously, some people are bypassing and they're keeping their hand in the sand and not seeing what's happening. But at the same time, I think some people who are able to really stay in that neutral field is because they've done so much of this work themselves, and collectively they've seen so much of the darkness in the world already. They know, and practically they know from an experiential level, because they've had this abusive, traumatic upbringing and relationship or whatever it may be. So they know deeply. That you can't say that they're bypassing because they've been through it. You know what I mean? Like, they have been through it already. So they're not bypassing. That's basically impossible. But then eventually you just choose. I don't want to keep vibrating here. It's a trap. It's literally a trap. So I'm just going to step out of the fight. And I feel like, I think it's really important, belief, hope, dreaming, all these positive vibrations, dream, have faith that change is possible, even though we see this devastation happening globally. Have faith in your heart and know that this is the purge and it has to be like this. And Babylon is falling, and that's okay. These lives are being lost, and it is not for no reason at all. It is a big, big, big ignition and initiation for all of us to see the darkness and to acknowledge it. Their purpose is for the collective right now, and we honor their souls, for playing that role in this awakening. And so these doom and gloom timelines might keep us away from the dreaming and the hope and the faith that we can change this and we can rewrite it, and we can all do that individually. So it's really important that we do this work, and that we all will, and I know we will, but we all move into seeing things from much more neutral stance in order to be able to call in these higher frequencies and higher states of being, higher states of awareness. At the end of the day, this is all dark age mentality that's happening at the moment. These are the dark ages, and to move through those dimensions, we have to uplift our own consciousness. We have to see how the war is taking place on our consciousness, and we have to be able to do the work to rise above it. So this is my message to all of you. Rise above the games and the manipulation from these dark parasitic beings. It doesn't mean bypass. It doesn't mean love and light, hide your head under the sand. And I know some people will do that. That's all they can do because it's too much to handle, and fair play. But I know so many more of us are here to see it, to integrate, to transform, to transmute this energy, to really feel it within us and open our hearts and allow it to be transformed by our hearts, and just really know so profoundly and so deeply that the reason why we are here is to call this new world into view for everyone, and it's to walk forwards into this with so much faith. That's why we are here. It's not to get trapped on these frequencies, on this ever looping cycle. No, that's not the point. And it's not to just bury our head under the sand. It's to walk powerfully into the fire and see the light, be the light, and bring it in. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that this makes sense and it offers a slightly different perspective to, I guess, what we are seeing at the moment with so much chaos and arguing and division. And it's really sad, really, to witness and to be here, but we are all here. And we all have the opportunity during this moment to choose to be, design, create our world differently. So yeah, thanks so much for being here. And I recently did the Conscious Dance event. So if you are looking to move through this period and what is coming up for you through dance, Our Sacred Rhythms is a conscious dance practice. I hold it here in London, and I recorded the session that we did last night. So I'm going to be posting that very soon, and I invite you to just, in your own space and in your own time, listen and just allow yourself to really find that 0 point for yourself. Thank you.